Hey guys, Kimber right here. Don't mind the noise in the background. I'm in the living room watching my Stevie play. One of the things I love. I love watching my Stevie play his games. As we are going to start going out, planning some outings for next year, we certainly do have the Jurassic Park World. If I can get the finances to go to it, Ratty and me are definitely going to go and have a look at the dinosaurs because I'm a dinosaur freak. I thought, let's have a look at some of the outings that we've done this year. Now, some of them are not on the YouTube channel because I do like to keep some of my stuff private. But I thought I'd share some of my outings this year. Mind the head slowly crawling onto the screen. Do you mind?
Sorry.
I like keeping my videos as raw as possible. I don't edit often. And this is why. Because you get beautiful moments like this. Maybe that'll be a resolution for this year. Collect a couple of videos so I can do a blooper reel at the end of the year. I don't know. So let's start with, as far as I remember, the first ever outing that I went to, which was the Titanic exhibit. Now, Ratty didn't exactly come with me, and admittingly, it was a week before I actually caught COVID. But I decided that I was going to go to the Titanic exhibit because I do have an interest in the Titanic. Not enough that I was willing to build the Titanic for myself. Maybe one day, but not right now. But I do have an interest in the ship. Every single time I learn something new about the ship, it always fascinates me. And when I heard that nearby Canada Water there was going to be an exhibit all about the Titanic, I was like, yep, that's happening. We're going. Now, when we went, as you know, I had camera difficulties. So most of the videos that I did for the show, which you'll see on my YouTube channel, is pictures that did survive the camera roll. I think because it was quite dark, my camera isn't very good with dark screens, so that's going to be interesting when I go to the Jurassic World. But it was so fascinating seeing a lot of the exhibits and learning something new. I actually learned something I'd never learned before, which was I'd been under the impression that the movie of Titanic, a lot of it is a romance, made up romance, based on what happened on the ship. So it's got the ship facts mixed with a bit of romance to make it an interesting movie. I was surprised to learn that the necklace that Rose wears is based on an actual necklace that was on one of the survivors of the Titanic. I was actually amazed to learn this. I thought, no way, but it was so fascinating. It was also fascinating looking at some of the old stuff. I knew about Isidore and Ida Strout. I didn't know, and this is quite interesting, that there could have been a timeline where majority of it's a question I've always been interested to ask. What if the Carpathia didn't make it in time? Would any of the Titanic survivors have survived? And interestingly, there was a little fact about the Carpathia that I learnt at this exhibit that made me go, it could have happened. And it's this. Back in the old days, we weren't as strict about time schedule. So the operator of the telegrams on the ship would have been on for a certain amount of time, and then he would have gone to bed, come back, woken up the next day, and continued on with his shift. On the night the Titanic struck the iceberg, the Carpathia telegrammer had reached his limit of his work service. But by pure chance, some telegram letters were lying on his desk, and he thought, let me do those first before I go to bed. And it was while he was doing those telegrams that he heard the SOS signal from the Titanic. I mean, imagine had the Carpathia guy gone to bed. it would have been a similar scenario to what happened with the California. They would not have known until he'd woken up the next day and received news that the Titanic had sunk. How many lives could have survived based on that? I don't know. But it is amazing how close. It is amazing how one simple decision changed the lives of so many people on the Titanic. I was already thinking about this when there was something else on there as well. The age-old question being that Rose is on the door, but Jack doesn't end up on the door itself, and he dies from hypothermia. If you haven't seen the film, sorry, spoilers. In this, there is actually a real-life story of something that kind of was similar. So there was a husband and wife, and just as the last lifeboat was being lowered, they both jumped in an attempt to jump onto the lifeboat. Now, the husband didn't make it. He unfortunately drowned in the water. The wife just about managed to hit the lifeboat, but she was dangling over the edge, and she had people holding her as she was over the edge, clinging to the edge of the boat, hoping to survive. Unfortunately, she died of hypothermia while waiting to be rescued, and the only evidence that we have of both of the couples was a ring that slipped off her finger into the lifeboat that was later found in the lifeboat. When you hear stories like that, it reminds you that at some point in history, the Titanic is going to disappear forever. That's something that we can't change. The ship is currently being eaten by life form bacteria. It is going to disappear. It's been predicted to disappear in 2030. We're now at 2023. It's going to disappear in 7 years' time. But if we keep the stories of the Titanic, if we keep the legacy of the artifacts, if we remember the people who lived and the people who died in the Titanic, I'll quote exactly what the exhibit said. The ship may have sunk, but if we remember the event forever, it's never going to be a sinking ship. It's always going to be the unsinkable ship forever, as long as we remember it. And I think that was a true legacy to the event. It was so cool and so much fun to be able to go to. Now, this one I don't think we did this year. The next one that I don't think we did this year, but I wanted to mention it because it was something that me and my mum, we kind of did together. And it was the Lions in London. Now, my mum and I, we love going around collecting statues, and a lot of statues appear in London. We have Wilder art. We had Wilder art. We've got the Wallace and Gromit statues, which we go around and collect when they come round. If we hear about them, we're not as observant as we was a while ago, but we tend to still try and observe what we can. And the Lions in London was one of them. It was a collection of lions all around London, painted by artists and styled in such a way. Another one that actually happened this year was the eggs that appeared around London. Now, that one I did manage to go and see, and that was truly an experience to go around. I think Ratty did eventually go with me, but it was raining, and you know what Rat's like when it's wet. He will not come out for no one. He will refuse, point blank, to come out, no matter what. I've tried persuading him to come out. Nope, not interested. If it's raining, no. But the Lions in London certainly was an interesting thing to go and see. Another statue one that we did last year, I think it was the chasing hares around Southend. That was exhausting. I did manage to go out with Ratty. There's a video out on my YouTube channel of the adventure. Me and not Ratty, Chester, the hare, had. We went around London. We had a blast. We wandered around, found nearly all of them, and then I was going to go to an event which was basically a closing off ceremony of the hairs. Unfortunately, I had done my footing. I think my plantar fasciitis is activated again. So my husband had to go and collect them for me. Which, how he bears with me, I don't know. He's got his headphone in his ears, he's not listening. But he went out and he got the rest of the livets and the hairs that I didn't have, which was a huge fail. I think it was 4 or 8 levets that I was missing. If I remember rightly from the day, the only reason I missed those levets was because the levets were inside a building that was shut at the time. Now, I did have a picture of 4 of them, but they were through a window. And if you've ever tried to take a picture through a window, it is incredibly difficult. So they were 4 that I really wanted to get. The other 4 was kind of tucked behind the 4 figures that were at the window off to the side. So I could see them, but I couldn't actually get a picture of them. And I was so incredibly busy after that event, I never went back to take a proper picture. It was on my to-do list, never found the time to do it. That's something I want to try and improve. Again, that will depend on finances, but it'd be fun to be able to sort of go on an outing, maybe statue hunting, and just wander around London again, just having a bit of a blast. Talking of experiences, and this, I don't think it was last year, I think it was the year before. It certainly was before one of the lockdowns. Me and my mum, we went to the Fantastic Beasts exhibit in the National Theatre. And talking of which, we actually did go back to the National Theatre this year. We went to, originally I went to South Kensington to go to a mini model exhibit. Now, because I was building the Disney Dolls house, I thought it'd be quite nice to see some of these mini models, and a lot of them were fantastic. But while I was there, because I don't trust trains, and I misjudged the train times, we actually got to go and see Dippy the Dinosaur again. Dinosaur fanatic. Dippy the Dinosaur went on tour around London, so he was replaced by a whale. But he's recently come back to the National History Museum, which is his home. He will be finishing next year, January, if I remember rightly. So I don't know whether to go and see him again, or whether to just leave it. When Dippy disappears forever, I am going to miss him because he is an amazing dinosaur. And his history, one day maybe I'll do a video of Dippy the Dinosaur. But his history alone is something truly amazing to be able to venture. We also managed to do some personal things as well, of which one of them was... So my mom introduced me to an event that I thought I would never get involved with. I want to get more involved with it this year. I don't know if it's going to be capable, but I'm certainly going to try. And it was LARPing. Now, I say introduce me. My mom's idea of introducing me to it was to say, bring a whistle, go into the woods, wear warm clothes. But it turned out to be a good thing. We actually, it's sort of a weird laser tag version. I think it's meant to be paintball. But the idea is we all dress up in cosplay and we all have a bit of a laugh. We reenact a scenario from our favourite science fiction or fantasy films. I really want to do a Jurassic Park one, but I need to plan it first, so it's something I need to think about. There is also a video that I did while I was there, which is currently being reviewed by my mum, but is also, I hope, going to be reviewed by someone who I had contact with while I was at the event. It's LARPing, LARPing stands for Live Action Role Play, and it's a truly amazing event. If there's any LARPing around you, please go and see it, because it's one of the coolest things you could ever do. if you ever become a games host, like I hope to one day be, it's going to be an amazing feat to be able to do, and you'll love it. I promise you, you'll love it. As well as doing theatre work for the Woodhouse Players and the Network Theatre, of which the Network Theatre I actually did stage work, stage managing, which I hadn't done for a long time. We also managed to go out to theatre shows of our own. Like I said, a lot of it is private, because I'm never comfortable filming in private buildings. I know the rules can differ depending on building to building, and I'm too shy to go to someone and say, is it okay if I do some filming? Now, with the first one, Frozen, I kind of broke that rule a little bit, but I didn't do it inside the actual theatre space itself. So if you look at the video that I did on my birthday, my mum took me to go and see the Frozen the musical at Garrick Theatre, I think it was. Was it the Garrick Theatre? It was in central London, and it was my birthday treat. It was something that I really wanted to go and see. My mum managed to get tickets for it. We went to it. As you could see, I bought Sven because I fell in love with him straight away, and we did a little bit of. My mum and I did some silly bits, some silly filming with Sven as we were waiting for the show to start, including having him drink, which is naughty, but that was the one time that I actually broke the rule. I rarely ever do filming when I'm in the theatre. I like being respectful. In January, possibly, I think it was in January or February. I think it was. I can't quite remember. It certainly was this year. My mom and I finally got to go and see Book of Dust. Now, Book of Dust was certainly on my list of things to just see, because I'm a huge fan of Barnaby Dixon. Barnaby Dixon is a YouTuber. Check out his videos, and he created a puppet called Dabchick. He was one of the reasons I got interested in puppetry. And because of his expertise in the videos for Dabchick, he was asked to do the puppets for the show Book of Dust. He created all the daemons. And because of this, I was interested. My mom managed to get tickets for it. We went to go and see it, and it was truly an amazing sight. And it says how amazing it is when you have a baby on the stage and everyone's, oh, ooh, and then later on people are asking the question, wasn't that baby well behaved? It didn't cry. Wasn't that baby well behaved? I later learned that there's at least 2 to 3 babies per show. And I think because if one of them becomes fussy or starts crying, the second one can take over and the third one can take over. Or the mum's sort of in the background to look after the baby during the breaks, for example. But it was truly an amazing show. My favourite bit will always be when he's got a set of conkers. This is one of the examples where you should never work with children or animals. And he's holding the conker above the baby's head. And the nursemaid is saying, I don't think the baby would be interested in that kind of thing. Meanwhile, the baby's reaching out towards the conker. Yeah, the baby's not interested at all. He's just reaching towards the conker. It's fine. That was a truly amazing experience, and I loved every minute of it. I thought it was absolutely amazing. I've got the script at home. I'm currently reading it. I hope to be able to study it to learn a lot more about the show. And I don't know if they're going to do any more of the books. I hope so. But if they do, I'll certainly be keeping my eye out for a ticket. In return, I might buy my mum a theatre ticket this year if I've got the money, so she can enjoy the shows as well. Another show that I was interested in, I previously had 2 opportunities to go and see this show, but every single time the opportunity came to see this show, something else came up. And it's the show called Matilda. Matilda has been in the theatres for quite a while. I thought it was a fantastic book when I read it. I love the films. I'm going to have a look at the network new film that they've done of Matilda. But when you see the theatre production, it is very, very creative and very well timed and huge amount of fun. I loved the songs. I loved Miss Trunchbull. I loved Matilda. I thought she was absolutely brilliant. And I love the fact that you've got all these different kinds of characters and they're all absolutely amazing. Particularly when you've got the intro, because you've got an interval, and then the intro to the second part of the show coming on is they're making an announcement saying Mr. Wormwood has an announcement to make, and it's he comes on the stage and he mentions how, you know, reading is completely wrong and it should be banned, blah 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 blah, and you know that it's just Mr. Wormwood's style because Mr. Wormwood doesn't like books. It's a truly amazing show. If you have any opportunity, I would highly recommend certainly Frozen, certainly Matilda. Unfortunately, Book of Dust isn't showing anymore. I've been recommending that to the high heavens because it is truly an amazing thing. And until the end of January, I would highly recommend this show as well, which is the last one I'm going to mention, which is My Neighbor Totoro. My Neighbor Totoro, if you're a big fan of Studio Ghibli, if you can get tickets, because I heard it is sold out, but if you can get tickets because it's a truly, truly amazing show. It uses puppetry from the Jim Henson Corporation, but it also uses shadow puppetry. It uses the puppeteers as well as actors. What I mean by that is you would suddenly have an actor thrust on the stage, dressed in black still, with usually either a stethoscope being chucked at him or him turning back and shouting, I don't know, why are you choosing me? I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. This isn't my part. I'm just a puppeteer. It just added to the experience. And my absolute favourite bit was the Totoros. I'm going to call them Totoros because I don't know what their actual species is called. They're forest spirits. But you've got the big giant one, which is known as Totoro, and then you've got the two little ones. You've got the white one, and then you've got the bluer one, which is slightly bigger. Very, 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 very difficult to be able to do. But if you can ignore the big Totoro for a second and just stare at the white one and the blue one, you get an absolute fantastic characteristic, which just shows that they stick to their character throughout all of it. One of my favourites is the little girl and Totoro, the big Totoro, has gone back to sleep. And my eyes went to the two little ones, and they were having a fight over who was going to give the bag back. And it literally was, the big one was going, and the little one was going, and it was those kind of details that was just making me go, I love this show. The show was absolutely fantastic. To stick with how the film had gone, it had the title My Neighbor Totoro. I would have said projected, but now I'm not convinced it is. But it had My Neighbor Totoro on the screen. I don't know if it was like a back projection or if it was like a camera roll that was going on, or whether it was a mixture of camera roll and puppetry to it. But it had the name on it all the way through. And at no point did me and my mum notice that there was no you in the neighbour. There was no you until the actual show started, and it did a kind of animation / puppetry movement in front of the screen where you had this brilliant show. Even before the show had started, you had this brilliant characteristic animation type role, which now that I've seen the film, because at the time I hadn't seen the film, I have seen the film now, and when you watch the beginning bit of the film, you get this kind of animation on the title sequence of the show. That animated sequence was on the stage production. It was on the stage production at the start of Act 1, and it was on the stage production of Act 2. And it was just showed the kind of playfulness that the show had, the kind of cleverness that would go with it. I have said to my mum, if possible, I'd quite like the white one, because I think I figured out how the white one was moving. I haven't quite figured out how the blue one moves yet, because I'm still learning puppetry. But it would be amazing for me to be able to do a puppet of the white one, just to imitate its turning up on the first occasion. I could talk about this show for hours. It was just truly an amazing show. But that's about all the items that we've been to other outings as well, and we've had a huge amount of fun. And next year, I'm hoping to be able to do more shows and be able to do more outings as we go along. But until then, right now I should focus on getting the Jurassic Park sorted out before I think of anything else. So until then, stay safe, stay well, keep the magic in your fingertips, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.